Le vent fait pleurer mes yeux et je cavale pour me réchauffer. Ce climat-là n'est pas pour moi.
At first, they're invisible. They move past you, shadow-like. They peck at the air in front of them, tap, shuffle along the asphalt, mince in a small mouse-like steps, pull a cart behind them, clutch at the walker, stand surrounded by a cluster of pointless sacks and bags, like a deserter from the army, still decked out in full war gear.
Dubravka Ugrešić is a wonderful writer, innovative, witty, mordant, and also someone who gives us a great sense of the world in which we live in today, with its migrations, its dislocations. So tell us a little bit about the character of Baba Yaga, because I don't know if she's as familiar here as she might be in the Slavic countries, say. Yeah. Who is she? What is she?
She belongs to international family. Almost every culture in the world has a character of an old crone or an old witch. So she exists all over the world. Baba Yaga is a Russian version of that old crone. She is well known as a Baba Yaga bony leg, which means that she has one leg made of bone, or of a steel, or something else. She has a long nose. There are many versions of that nose. Sometimes it is glass nose, like in Norwegian fairy tales. Sometimes it is steel nose. Sometimes it is a wooden one. So it depends.
By an accident of history, I just want to signal this to you. In that great post-communist disassembly of states, the Yugoslavia that Dubravka grew up in turned her into a Croat, and she now lives in Amsterdam and occasionally in America. Because of her anti-patriotic stance, and I've only found this out recently, during the Balkan Wars, her exposure of the manias of nationalism, she was vilified and proclaimed as a traitor and a public enemy. She was also called a witch. And I want to ask you, Dubravka, whether any of the germs for Baba Yaga laid an egg come from this own naming of you as a witch in the disassembly of what was Yugoslavia.
In fact, I totally forgot about my own witch history when I was choosing Baba Yaga for my book. But now it matches. Now it's fine.
It's not only a novel, it is also a memoir, it is also a disquisition on fairy tale, and does all of this with great verve and panache and playfulness.
The whole book, the novel, consists of three totally different narratives, and I'm so happy that I also got 3 different translators. That was the right choice, because 3 parts are different. So first one is a sort of a memoir, is in fact a sort of observation of symptoms and signals of the old age. Then suddenly a random detail snags your attention, like a stray mouse, an old lady's handbag, a stocking slipping down a leg, bunching up on a bulging ankle, crocheted gloves on the hands, a little old-fashioned hat perched on the head, sparse grey hair with a blue sheen.
A kind of Dubravka is confronted by the agingness of her mother and the various kinds of lacks and losses which that can bring in its train. It's an area I'm rather familiar with, because I too was confronted by this, and it took me by surprise as my mother aged and what happened to her mind in that process, which in my mother's case was both psychological in its first impacts, but also neurological, I later discovered. But the process in which one lives this as a daughter is a very difficult one and brings in train a lot of kind of psychological ruptures.
And then, all at once, you begin to support them. They shuffle around the world like armies of elderly angels. One of them peers into your face. She glares at you, her eyes wide, her gaze a faded blue, and voices her request with a proud and condescending tone. She's asking for your help. She needs to cross the street, but she cannot do it alone, or needs to clamber up into a tram, but her knees have buckled, or needs to find a street and house number, but she's forgotten her spectacles.
So tell us a little bit about this memoir or this experience of your mother aging and how she is our first Baba, our first witch.
Yeah, aging is extremely, it is painful, and it is at the same time interesting when you are observer, and if you have enough patience to observe that. And usually daughters are the ones who do that because it is fascinating, and at the same time you confront yourself with your future. I mean, this is it. You are your mother's daughter. You are that egg, you know. So it is that circle, you know. Baba Yaga's laid an egg. Dig in your heels. Resist the siren call. Make an effort to lower the temperature of your heart. Remember, their tears do not mean the same thing as yours do. Because if you relent, give in, exchange a few more words, you will be in their thrall. You will slide into a world that you had no intention of entering, because your time has not yet come. Your hour, for God's sake, has not come.